First, we have to talk about those ongoing dry conditions that are leaving us with little snow and low water reserves. I'm Corey Rose.
And I'm Steve Stager. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. Katie LaSalle also here, and we're talking about this because a lot of people are going to feel the impacts of the weather that we've seen over the last few weeks.
Hot, dry, and we've been watching the snow melt so actively and quickly in the mountains. We have a little relief over the coming days, but not a lot. We do have a lot of implications for this unseasonably hot, dry winter and early spring.
Yes, it's been so rough. So the historic heat wave is quickly melting through our snowpack. So before we get too deep into the forecast, we are sending things out to meteorologist Keely Chalmers. She's live in the foothills with the latest numbers. And Keely, the outlook is not great.
Yeah, good morning. Certainly no snow in the foothills where we are this morning. In fact, there are a lot of bare slopes in the mountains and the foothills of Colorado this season, and that's not just impacting skiing and mountain recreation, it's also impacting the water supply for tens of millions of people, and that's because the snow that falls here in Colorado's mountains, when it melts, it becomes the spring runoff that in turn fills our reservoirs. That runoff or snow melt is essential not just for our winter recreation industry, but also for the farms that grow our food and for the water many of us drink. In a normal year, Colorado mountains get hundreds of inches of snow, which equates to a lot of water when it melts. This year, we aren't even getting close to that. As of yesterday, the amount of water in our mountain snowpack was 38% of average. That marks the lowest snowpack in more than 40 years in Colorado. And while we have had a couple years in the past where we faced major snow droughts, this season is like nothing we've seen with the persistently warm temperatures. March is typically one of the snowiest months in Colorado where we should see accumulating snow, but this March has not only been unusually dry, but also abnormally warm, accelerating the snow melt. Nagam Bell is a hydrologist with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. She helps manage the snow telemetry sites across Colorado's mountains.
Right now, we are at 38% of median statewide. Started the month off at 60% median. So that is a 22-point drop since the start of the month, mainly related to a lack of storms and persistently warm temperatures on the order of 7 to 8 degrees above normal, with the majority of days in March well above normal for temperature.
Yeah, and it's important to point out that snowpack here in the northern mountains of Colorado usually doesn't peak until mid to late April. So while there's really basically no chance we're going to get even close to back to normal, there is a little bit of hope that we will at least recover some. The forecast is calling for a couple decent storms the first week of April. Not going to be a lot, but at this point, any little bit of snow will help. Reporting live from Golden on 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Keely Chalmers. Send it back to you guys.
Keely, thank you so much. And giving you a look right now at that snowpack here across the state, as she was mentioning, 38% of median. As we get into the next couple of afternoons, we will be watching changes in terms of one front, but looking ahead at a more active weather pattern for, again, the first to second week of April, it looks like. But with drought conditions extreme to exceptional into many of our northern and central mountains and severe drought here across Denver, not a lot of moisture in the forecast. It has been hot and dry, and with that, we also have fire danger elevated. Red flag warnings encompassing a big portion of southeastern Colorado for today. Windy, hot, dry. Now, not as hot as yesterday, where we hit 87 degrees officially out at Denver International Airport, marking the hottest March temperature ever that we have seen in the month. Our next front rolling in later on today. So winds and clouds increase. We're tracking a little bit of moisture. Not a lot, but scattered showers are set to arrive tonight through early Friday, along with some colder air. So this morning, pretty quiet here across the state and very mild. We're right now in the mid to upper 50s. Stepping out the door, it is comfortable. For highs today, we are expecting upper 70s to near 80 degrees, building cloud coverage by this afternoon. And best chance for any precipitation would be later on tonight in the form of rain, but 80s across the eastern plains. Hot, dry over the southeastern corner of Colorado, but this ridge of high pressure that's been keeping us unseasonably toasty and dry, kind of breaking up, moving down to the south introducing our next front. That'll just be for Friday, and then our weather pattern set to shift as we get into the next week, mainly Wednesday through Friday. But our futurecast showing scattered showers moving in through portions of Boulder into our northern Front Range mountains. Denver has the chance of a scattered shower or two right around 9 o'clock, but you can see not a lot of widespread moisture. So not everywhere will see precipitation. Cloudy skies tomorrow, west of the divide at sunshine. Brianna, you'll like the 50s for tomorrow, but we're right back to around 80 degrees Saturday and Sunday.
Which is what Steve loves. Katie, thank you so much. 6:05 is your time right now, taking a live look all the way down in Highlands Ranch. So C470 at Santa Fe, where traffic right now very, very light, which is some good news, especially if you're traveling east and westbound along C470. I do want to talk about one crash that I'm actually tracking right now. It just came into our newsroom. For anyone taking Tower Road, so just after Pena Boulevard and I-70, we are seeing a crash. Is as soon as you approach I-70, that's where you're going to notice that crash. So keep that in mind. I'm not seeing any significant impacts up and down I-70 on those east and westbound lanes, but I'm sure with that morning rush hour traffic, we're probably going to see it in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll keep you guys updated if that does change. Heading to Boulder this morning, taking Highway 36, only about a 17-minute drive.
Brianna, thank you. Local fruits and veggies are becoming harder to find on grocery store shelves. That's because Colorado farms are closing down, struggling to stay in business.
9 News reporter Courtney Yoon joins us live from the state capitol right now. Courtney, as farms shut down, lawmakers are debating how to structure overtime pay for farm workers.
Yes, that's right, Corey and Steve. Between 2017 and 2022, 3,000 farms in Colorado closed down, according to the Colorado Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association. So some blame overregulation for this, and now a discussion on workers' rights and how to pay farm employees overtime has arrived here at the Capitol. So 2 opposing bills on farm labor were introduced this legislative session regarding overtime pay for farm workers. One of those bills would have required overtime pay after 40 hours of work or 12 hours in one day, just like all other workers in other industries. That bill, sponsored by Democratic State Senator Jesse Danielson, has already failed. Another bill sponsored by Democratic State Senator Robert Rodriguez would require overtime pay after 60 hours of work per week. That bill is still alive and heading to the House. Right now in Colorado, farm workers qualify for overtime after 48 hours, and that bumps up to 56 hours during the harvest season. We spoke with Brighton farmer Joe Petracco, who says it's been difficult for his family's farm to stay profitable for years now. He supports a 60-hour overtime threshold. State Senator Danielson says it's important to increase protection for farm workers, not roll them back.
The 40-hour bill would be so damaging to workers, the majority of the workers, because that means that we would be cutting their hours back. We can't afford overtime with the prices that we have for our product.
Every time we do a measure that increases protections, industry leaders say the sky is falling, the industry will collapse. And so far that's never materialized. It is very important that we stick with workers and continue to fight for their well-being.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are considering a compromise on that remaining bill, potentially lowering the overtime threshold from 60 hours to 56. So Senator Danielson says the remaining bill upends years of compromise on the original Farm Worker Bill of Rights and puts overtime rules into permanent state statute. Live in Denver, Courtney Yoon, 9 News.
Courtney, thank you. A man who worked as a nursery supervisor at a church in Fort Lupton has been arrested after being accused of sexually assaulting a girl. The Weld County Sheriff's Office says 36-year-old Jesus Chacon sexually assaulted the victim several times over a period of 4 years. The girl told deputies the assaults happened at his home and at the church. Detectives later learned he supervised the nursery at the church where he had been responsible for the victim. He faces 25 counts of sexual assault on a child. The Broncos have agreed to pay nearly $46 million for Burnham Yard. That is the old rail yard where they have said they'd prefer to build their new stadium. According to our reporting partners at the Denver Business Journal, the purchase price for Burnham Yard is a few million less than what the state paid for the land back in 2021. However, that price is equal to the remaining principal on the state's loan. The Denver Business Journal reports the state spent millions more on a site study, maintenance, security, and the demolition of some buildings. The Broncos say they will not ask for any new taxes to fund their new stadium, but voters approved funding for infrastructure projects in the area.
A plan to transform 2 downtown office towers into housing and businesses is getting a funding boost. The Denver Downtown Development Authority announcing new support for the High Fidelity Plaza project. The plan is to convert 1 million square feet of office space along 17th Street into 700 apartment units. The project would also include a bodega, coffee shop, children's museum, and child care center, and a bookstore. The Downtown Development Authority approved a loan of up to $63 million to help with that project. The whole thing expected to cost about $315 million.
2 hours early just won't cut it anymore. The TSA says it's clocked the highest security wait times in the agency's 25-year history. Some travelers have waited in lines for more than 4.5 hours. What you're going to look at here is a line at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport. That is not inside the airport. That's outside. The line has actually backed up out of the terminal and into the passenger pickup lanes. You can see staff have blocked out a queue with cones. Yesterday, TSA officials and the Department of Homeland Security testified in front of House lawmakers. So all of this, they say, stems from the funding lapse from the partial government shutdown. The TSA says it may have to temporarily close down some airports entirely until funding resumes. TSA agents have gone without pay since the shutdown started more than a month ago. Many agents have called out or flat out quit. There's also a pause in training new officers, and that's threatening TSA's readiness for several upcoming summer events.
Some breaking news this morning. Sky 9 over the scene of a structure fire. This is along North Ironton Street. So if you're seeing a big police and fire presence there, that's what's going on. It's near Spencer Garrett Park. We're told that fire is under control. Aurora Fire also saying that primary and secondary searches of that building have been completed and they are negative and they have no injuries reported as of yet. But if you're seeing all those flashing lights, that is what's going on in Aurora right now. We'll update you as we learn more about this.